Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation designed to encourage us to look at our language and how we're using language that can cause connection or disconnection. Many times we can come up with all the lovely words that we can think of and still find us in a state of disconnection, mainly because words don't just come with definitions, they come with stories, expectations, and fears and disappointments. So the more that we're able to have a one-word conversation, we can learn more about ourselves and the person that you're speaking to, and you can build your relationships. One Word Conversations is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available at IamWilliamBrown.com is our U cards. Our U cards are intention setting cards. They are journal prompts, and they're also a game. So go to IamWilliamBrown.com/the store and get your deck today. So the cards that I picked today to set the intention for our conversation is I am curious, you are kind, and there is no one youer than you. It'll be very interesting how that shows up within the conversation. So with that in mind, I would like you to like, share, ask questions, comment, subscribe, do all those things to let me know that you are a part of this conversation also. So the word for today is source. This I think my guest picked this word. I asked for alternative words. Sometimes when I look at my words, and I have been really trusting my intuition and saying that, hey, this is the word that shows up, but if there's an alternative word that the guest has, I will go with that. And as soon as I saw this word, I was like, yes. So with that in mind, I will bring in my guests so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, William. Thanks so much for having me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So this is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
All right. I'm Elisa S. Keeler, and I'm a teacher of the Hidden Treasure Program, which is a 3-year course in personal and spiritual growth. It takes place at Light on the Hill Retreat Center, which is 30 minutes from my home in Ithaca, New York.
Oh, wow.
So I'm based in Ithaca and I live downtown, but I can easily ride my bike to the gorges and waterfalls that surround us.
Right. That sounds like an incredible place, right?
I enjoy it here. Yeah. Right. And I came here for music school. So I studied music at Ithaca College and later earned a degree in transpersonal psychology. My specialization was creativity and innovation.
Wow. And now, that sounds like a conversation right there. So it's like,
oh yeah.
All right. So the question of the day is, how does the word source land for you?
Yeah, this word is one of the central words in my life. I have a daily practice that helps me to connect to what I consider to be source.
Right.
And for me, it's a moral compass. I might think of it as, higher guidance or the divine within.
Right. It's really interesting because a number of years ago, I'll just say it. I was like offended when people would say source instead of God, right? It was just like, roll my eyes and take a deep breath and all that kind of stuff. But I guess, I'm getting older or more enlightened or what, I don't know, or just, I don't know, just don't care anymore. But, all those things, that come with age, that it's like, I get it. It resonates with me more. I kind of get it, even though that I use the word God, right, and that label, it doesn't diminish if people use other words to their understanding of what that means. And so, because God is my source, but I was trained, or I was encouraged to use that name to kind of help me, kind of get through my life, or at least manage my family. So it's just very interesting that uh, a word as simple as that can cause so much challenges for people.
That's right. Yeah. And I experienced that myself. I grew up in a Methodist church. And so, of course, it was God. And I even remember once when we were in Sunday school and we were asked to draw a picture of God. And I remember being like, okay, that's Jesus's dad. So it probably looks like Jesus's dad, right?
A little familiar to Jesus, kind of look maybe a little gray hair or something.
That's right. It's
like
gotta be.
It's like, and it's like when I really embrace I guess the energy, right? A lot of people, there's a lot of people have a conversation that words are energy, and we're energy, and we're light, and all that. And when we think of light and energy, it comes from somewhere. It comes from source, right?
That's
Our
right.
source in something. This something has caused this energy to move, or to happen. And so even when I read some of the scriptures, there are so many there are so many stories, or so many ways that source is mentioned and not mentioned, right? It's like, and so it's like, but it's like, it's like I said, it comes up with our language. So it's like, okay, we can't just say source, we have to put something else on it to kind of make people understand and appreciate it more,
to make it graspable for some folks. And
right?
I'm a big advocate of use the word that works for you.
Right.
If it's God, go with God. If it's love, go with love. If there's a connection to Mother Earth and that's where you get your energy and your nourishment, that could be your source. And just the freedom for each person to gauge which word brings them home.
Right. It's kind of funny because, this conversation, one word conversations, and all that other kind of stuff. And one reason why, I have one word conversations is because sometimes language just gets away from me. It sounds one way up in my head, and then when it comes out, it's like, I don't know what word that was, right? But just be able to go there. So the more that I articulate what I'm trying to say, and maybe I will have language to it or not, right? And then I can be in a conversation with someone. And so the more that I'm willing to have that one word at a time to kind of go through it, as an educator, you kind of, I can remember, I can barely read music, right? Because I forgot it from when I was growing up, but you can see and hear, the progression of it, but you have to start one, time. And too often it feels like, at least with my communication, it's just like, I sit down, I figure out all the words that I want to come up with, and then you get it, right? And it's just like, okay, I don't know what that was, but deal with it. But the more that I'm willing to stop and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing right now. I'm dealing with source. How can you help me through that, and how it's showing up in my life? And that's a very intimate conversation to have with someone. And I think that's what the times are inviting us to.
That's right. Yeah, I feel there's that call to go inward, with all the restriction that we have to go out and do the distractions. Of course, we find ways to distract ourselves.
Absolutely.
But there is this call. I felt like as soon as this pandemic hit and we were all restricted in our regular activities, to me, I thought this is the call to go inward.
Right.
It's like a elongated retreat,
right.
And some of us still try to pursue with as much vigor as ever before. And some of us, I would feel, are getting the message of actually it's time to go more deeply inward, to come home, to connect more deeply with source, to attune to our individual callings in this world and this life.
Right.
And strive to live toward it.
Yeah, I think the more that I'm a self awareness coach, right? I've just kind of like embraced that, and it has taken me, almost a year to really reconcile that the self development or self awareness journey is a spiritual journey. The more that I get a closer understanding and appreciation for who I am, the more that I connect to source, the more that I connect to where this all is coming from, right? It's like it's not just stopping here, it's there's somewhere else, and just being connected to that, and I can really feel um, when I'm connected and when I'm not, when there's a disconnection and when there's not, or I feel that we're never disconnected, but we feel like we are.
That's right. I find it's a forgetting. Sometimes we
Right.
forget. Yeah. And so you just mentioned, that there's times when you're connected or remembering,
Right.
and there's times that you're not. Yeah, we want to give some, or share a little bit more about that. How do you know when you're connected? What are the signs?
I think that the signs are, that's a great question, because so it's requiring me to kind of have this whole body experience, right? That really to say, hey, when do I feel connected? Is when there's a level of peace. There is not this busyness of my mind, right? There is this assurance of without understanding, right? That it's like, I know this, but I don't know why I know this, but I'm okay.
But then
You
not
know,
knowing. Yeah.
right? With the not knowing of it.
Right.
And so from that place, many times, when I have actions or doing from that place, things work out, right? I mean, but when there is like, when I'm all over the place and it's like, okay, I don't know what the hell that is, but I'm going to do this, or when I'm that way, then it's my feelings, it's my fears, it's all of those other things, except being, finding alignment, for myself.
Yes. And it makes me think a little bit about what I might call egoic action,
Hmm.
or action that's less connected to source,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
the difference.
I've never heard that. I'm trying to. It's like egoic. Is that how you
Ego,
pronounce
it's
it?
the ego. Like the
Oh,
ego
ego.
is
I
like,
got it.
yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
was like, I
What's that word?
right. It's kind of funny because it's like, I think it was part of ego, and then I was like, no, I think she said Celtic, and I was like,
Oh
no,
yeah.
she didn't say that, right? It's like then there's like dancing happening. I was like, okay, what I don't,
Well,
so
there's
it's
a
just
beautiful lesson here, because imagine how often we mistake one word, and then
right,
so it's good to clarify. Yeah,
right, and just
ego action, egoic. Yep.
right. It's really, and I think too many times that's what we do. We
Yes,
act as if we know exactly what the hell you're talking about,
that's
and
right.
we don't. And it's like, I'm mad at you for saying something that you didn't say, right? But
That's right. Oh, and it goes off on that. That's right. So
right,
come back home, ask for
right,
clarification, and reconnect. Yeah.
right, and reconnect. So it's really, what I am, you know dealing with, and it shows up as, an entrepreneur. For me, that source, what I believe my source is it my understanding of my offering, or is the source of my desire to help my clients, all that, where is the energy to keep this going? And sometimes when there is not this financial energetic exchange, right? When I don't make any money, right? It's that wonderful how we can like use things to kind of say, yeah, this is just not working, right?
Right, right. And we can talk about that too. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yep.
But it's really feels that when that is not happening, is it because my source is out of alignment, where my focus is, or what's driving me? Because if there's a clear understanding or appreciation of source, as I said before, then I mean it's almost easy, right?
Yes. Yeah, you mean as in life is almost easy, or
Yeah,
any action you
life.
care?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, any
Yes.
actions, your work, your life,
Yeah.
your relationships,
That's
everything,
right.
there's just an ease to it.
That's right. I often think in terms of getting out of the way.
Hmm.
Like how can, I might do some clearing practices. Every day I do a clearing practice. Clear
Right,
the body, the mind, the heart, connection to spirit,
right,
clearing, light flooding in. And for me, that paves the way. It helps me get out of the way for what I would call like source to come through.
right. Hmm. So it's kind of for me, even though I do have a meditation practice, I do um, I I really, I guess where I'm stumbling is that there's like some days that I think I'm doing it right, and some days it's just like I'm just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right?
Oh yeah.
Right,
You're flailing around a little bit.
right.
We all have done
It's
it. Yeah, yeah.
right. It's like, all right, I'm here, I'm on the cushion, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, so I guess that counts for something, right?
Yeah, I could share a bit, which,
Okay.
I find, of course, I remember when somebody first mentioned try meditating, and I was like, no way. It took me like 10 years before I was like, okay, I'll give that a try.
Right.
It's the mind, right? It's like the mind wants to, we live in a culture where doing is,
Right.
there's a high value of doing, not being.
Right.
So in Hidden Treasure, we talk about the value of being and really hone into that. So I think it's so common. We all have done it. We're like, what's the point of this? My mind's going. I have things to do. So what I do that helps me anchor is I always start with a repeating mantra.
Hmm.
And because I almost need to replace the thoughts and the chatter with something. So
Right.
I almost always start my practice with a repeating mantra. And, mine might be something like I acknowledge the divine source, or I acknowledge the divine within, or whatever it is.
Right.
The Sufis would do prayers that say, only God, only God. They did repeat this again and again.
Right.
And that just short statements and finding a statement that works for you or a mantra that works for
Hmm.
you, it like replaces the thoughts, and then I can sit and be present. I find that really works for an anchoring point.
Right. It's, I think I will definitely add that too. And I think the reason why I think that has not been a part of my practice is because there has been um, this acceptable hit and miss, right? It's like it's like, oh, okay, this was a great day of meditating. Oh, this was a terrible day of meditating. Well, let's just go see what happens, tomorrow. And so there wasn't this intentionality. I was present, right? But and I wasn't present, right? And so yeah, so I really I appreciate, having that mantra to kind of help, in that process of that, and just to be curious about. Too often when it's so this is what's coming up for me. There have been days where or years that I have been like successful without my knowing, right? So it's just like, I don't know, but everything is great. Maybe I'm just blessed, right? It just kind of, and then it stops. And then it's like, okay, wait a second. I'm not successful anymore, and I don't know how to get successful again, because what I was doing was just, I'm still doing that, and now it ain't working. And so there was this, in some cases, feeling that there was this disconnected from the source of that, right? And so me trying to not control it or manipulate it, but really be able to tap into it so I can, I guess, benefit from it, is, I guess,
Yeah.
is the challenge that I go through.
Yeah, and I think of a couple things. I think that it's good to acknowledge that in life there's these natural periods of expansion and contraction.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
perhaps in that expanded state, we're really hooked in, everything's flowing, it seems easy, like we're meeting the right people at the right time, like,
Right.
and then I think it's natural that there's a contraction. And
Hmm.
in that contraction, we can feel I'm not as connected and what happened, and we can long for what we had.
Right.
And then we're not accepting what is. right? And that's going to create this tremendous disharmony. You're going to be depressed or down, or why,
Right.
what did I do wrong?
Right.
But you'd be like, oh, it's natural that we expand and we contract. We go on retreat and people expand into these beautiful places and they come home, and 4 days or 5 days later, everything, the world starts closing in again. And it's just natural. So it is about acceptance. And there's the other piece that I think about like being in the flow, or there's this term wu wei, a Chinese word, wu wei, being in the flow.
Okay.
And then so we're in the flow and we're like, wow, this is awesome. And then we start looking in our rear view mirror,
Right.
being like, wow, and then like we linger there too long and we lose it, or we think our ego gets a hand. Oh, look at how great I've been, and then we fall off the bike,
Right.
So it's like, how do you just really be in the present moment at each moment and accept what is?
Right. It's kind of funny. I think I said on the show a few days ago that we would say things like we can't be in two places at the same time, right? We say that, but it's not the truth, because we're barely in one place, right?
That's right. It's the opposite. Yeah.
And it's like, the more that I am just in one place, that's when I'm present to my life, right? And it's like, other than that, I am, where I was, where I want to be, where I need to be, it's
and it's a great practice of just noticing, noticing. Are you in the future? Are you in the past? Are you really just here right now? And, that's, so it's good to just notice.
Right.
And laugh. Be like, there I go again, dreaming way off into the future, reminiscing or replaying that thing,
Right.
So bringing yourself right back to the present. And that's the way in. That's the way back to source. That's the way back to the connection.
Right. It's just really, I think there is a number of things that are happening. To be quite honest, it was, the gift of a pandemic to really slow us down, and really kind of, it's caused me to really ask myself the question, what is important? What am I going to not die for, but live for, right? How do I want to show up in the world? Not just the big world, the small world, for myself, for my family, and my community. And it was, there was a sense for me that it's like I was given lip service to source, right? I had a practice of, going to church every Sunday, and recognize and reading the Bible. As I said, I have a meditation practice. So I felt that, okay, but I'm going to just go along with stuff, as is. And was questioning why I felt disconnected from source, from my desires, from, just in some cases, resources, I don't know.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And so it's like, on this pause, on this like hard stop, it was like, what do I got? Right. What do I want? What do I got? What am I going to do with this? How am I going to, move forward, after this? And, or even during this, because there is still a mentality, I feel, with some of the people that I talk to, that they're waiting for an all clear so they can go back to their life.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, no, this is your life now. Right.
That's right.
Right.
And we were meant to be changed by this, I think. Yeah.
Right. And so the people that don't want to, I don't want to say don't want to, because I don't believe that is the case. I really don't believe that that's the case. Is that may find it harder to make the change because of a number of reasons. It's prolonging suffering, right? And so how can there was a question that I've asked a couple years ago, and I don't know if it's a relevant question, for me now, but it feels like it is, and it feels like it's not. And the question is, how does an enlightened person, whatever that means to you, right? How does an enlightened person speak to or have a conversation with someone who is not yet enlightened? And it's, because sometimes it felt like I was having conversations with people that it's like, dude, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And why are you,
Okay, yeah.
why are you worried about this anyway? Just go to work, right? Or just,
Okay, yeah.
just kind of do that. And it's just like, dude, you're missing your life, right?
Yes.
You're not present to,
Yeah, people
to,
get in their heads and yeah,
right.
it happens. Yeah.
And so is there a way that that you can show up for other people in, I guess, because spirituality or connection to source and just the practice of being aware, right, or noticing is so much a part of who you are?
Yeah, it's interesting, but whenever I engage with people, I try to remember to connect with like their deep self.
Right.
The them beneath their circumstances and beneath their emotional states. Those things are all changing.
Right.
But I try to remember to connect with them more like energetically. I might not say, hi, my name's Elisa. I'm going to connect with your deep self right now, but
Right.
there's a subtext.
It's like no. Right?
Yeah. But people feel it. And they begin to reveal and they become to blossom open and they share things that they say, I've never shared this, or I've only shared this with one person in my life. And it's like, I feel that they feel a deeper connection and maybe a safety and security in it.
Right.
But I also feel that it's fueling that part of them. So it's also inviting them to come to know that part of themselves, to drop beneath the circumstance and to tap into their own fuel source within.
Right. Wow. I think yesterday I was looking at, a word that I didn't use, a while ago was, intuition, right? And really, and a big part of intuition for me is trust. And I think it came up within the conversation that I had yesterday with the word follow. It's kind of, follow your intuition. It's kind of funny. Sometimes there's so many words that I go through. It's like, okay, what was that other word? But because I'm changed by so many words, there is so much more added to me that it's like, okay, now it's a part of me. I don't know when it was. But yeah. And I think trusting my intuition in some cases, it's feeling for me now is trusting source.
Yes.
Right? It's like if I trust God, if I trust source, if with that, then I can make movements in that. And I
Yes.
think that's the battle.
And then we can also ask, where does intuition come from?
Great. I get
Like,
that. Because because I would say things like I'm trusting my gut, and then sometimes, okay, was that the indigestion? Was that the was that the sandwich that I had or didn't have that's causing me to to think this certain way, or is this really a
yeah, how do
leading
we
that's going
know?
right?
Yeah.
That's really causing me, and I think really looking at or asking the question about my feelings. Where are my feelings in this? What feelings are coming up? What emotions are coming up with it? And the more that I'm able to separate my feelings, which are not me, from what I feel like I'm being called to do or led to do, then I believe that there is some knowing within that. So,
Yes. And I think about, for me, like intuition, it's like, how do I know if it's on or what, like, and I
right.
think I also experience like a felt sense,
Hmm.
oh, there's like it's like something comes through, call this person or like, you know, pursue this thing or whatever it is. And like, there's maybe a zingy, like an
Huh.
energized response in the body.
Right.
That's like, yes, that's what it is to do
Right.
next.
I there was someone that said to me, I think they wanted me to use the word. It's glitter or sparkle or something. It's like, what? No.
Yeah, where are we going? Yeah,
Tingling,
okay.
right, tingly, right. You have this tingly feeling, or something. It's like, okay, no, I need another word than that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But it's really, I guess for me, really being able, like I said, to trust, but then, be able to move or take action on that. I have noticed, if we talked about noticing earlier today, that I have noticed that I say no to a lot more than I thought I did. There's a lot of things that when I get this leading, right, or this call to do something, like if somebody comes to mind and says, "Hey, I really, want to call them," or I want to see how they're doing, many times, I will quickly dismiss that as, that's a nice little lovely thought. Get back to work, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right. So I mean, or something, and I think sometimes there are moments like that, or many times when I kind of go with those moments and say, it's like, what? I'm just going to call them, or I'm going to send them a text or something. Then it blossoms into this very long conversation. They realize, hey, I really, needed this, you know, this today. I was really having a tough day, or whatever is coming up. Um, but in but I still don't do that all the time,
Yeah, and so I think
even with that evidence, right?
I think the key is notice the no.
Right,
Like that, sometimes it happens so quickly, they don't even realize they're doing that,
right,
that they might get this guidance, they might get this intuition, and there's this quick no, whatever the excuse, or I'm too busy, or, but like just noticing the no would be the starting point, just noticing that. And then,
right,
and then I sometimes say to folks, like, let's try an experiment. What if you notice the no and then question it and then assess? Is
right,
this really a no? Or is it like, oh, let's clear that and let's make that call,
right,
and then to see how you feel when you say yes,
right,
like you described it. You might have this beautifully enriching, perfect moment conversation. You
right,
realize it was deeply nourishing and exactly what you needed. And then that, I think, helps us develop the trust.
right.
Okay, I can trust my intuition here. And I think no is habitual for a lot of people. And in Hidden Treasure, we do a whole weekend retreat on the tendency to say no.
Well,
It's like examine it and be like, where is this coming from? And look at how much it blocks us,
right,
And so it's just the resistance. It's built in, And so just becoming aware is the first step. And then I think experimenting. I have to use the word experiment to undo the no, the habitual no. I have to say, you can always go back to your old way of being.
right,
Just try this approach. Just experiment.
right.
See what happens if you do that for a week.
It's something that I have embraced curiosity as my core value. It's been a part of me all my life, and I've shared on the show in the past that like I said, I tried not to say it wasn't beaten out of me, but it wasn't encouraged, right? So it's like that's
In
the
between.
disclaimer, right? The disclaimer, it was not encouraged, and so because it wasn't encouraged, it wasn't developed. I felt like it wasn't developed in me, and so I had this story around curiosity, that curiosity will get me into trouble. Curiosity is not, I will not benefit from my curiosity. And so the more that I have embraced that, later in my life, I can see that the power in the inquiry.
Yes.
Look,
Yeah.
there are some times where it's like I'm curious, and it's like, oh crap, why? I can't unsee this, right? Type of thing. But now I know. you know.
That's right. Yeah, it makes me think, one of your statements makes me think of the work of Byron Katie.
Hmm.
Like, is it true? She would say, is it true
Hmm.
that curiosity will get you into trouble?
Right.
And she takes people through a 4-step inquiry process. And are you familiar with her
Mm-mm.
4 questions?
That's why I'm writing it
I love
down.
it. She calls it the work, Byron Katie, the work, and she does this 4 question inquiry process, which is it true that
Right.
curiosity will get you into trouble? And
Right.
one of the key questions is, how do you feel when you believe that thought? Like, what happens in your body
Mm.
if you
Right.
believe? And then, who would you be without that thought?
Mm. Wow.
And then she encourages to state the opposite. Curiosity, won't lead to trouble, or curiosity was good for my growth. and
Right.
and, and give 3 examples of how that's true.
Right.
And it
Wow.
really can undo things. I'm just thinking about how to open, right? And this word curiosity being your core value, it's like,
Right.
it sounds like you've learned to embrace it and really utilize it in this.
Right.
We all benefit now from that.
Right. It's kind of, well, I appreciate that. And I'm trying to take that and not just overlook that you
Please
just
do.
acknowledge that,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Yes.
but it is something that, um, there's many times I think an ability that I have, and I don't know if it's a superpower or something like that, but to see, beyond my seeing, to know beyond my knowing. I think we all have that ability, but it shows up in my life, um, and it shows up a lot. And I can, to go back to my nose, right? And so I have to go through that because I want to unlock that, because I want to really embrace the power of that. Is that I will see something, if it's on the news, if it's on my Facebook feed, if it's in my house, right? And it's like, this is what I'm seeing is not what I'm seeing. There is just this, so am I going to be curious enough to see what's really going on here? Or am I going to speak about what I believe that I'm seeing here? And sometimes that's a difficult inquiry. Let's just say, right? Especially when people want you to accept their reality, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I get it completely. And I love the questions you just asked. So you're aware that there's something here that, beyond what is being presented.
Right.
And also that question, am I going to speak up about it, speak about it?
Right.
And that's where I think we can consult with source, with intuition,
Mm.
and say, am I supposed to speak up? I see something here. I see a missing piece to this puzzle. Am I to further explore this? That might be a first question.
Mm-hmm.
And then, am I to make an action about it? Like speaking about it on your show or in your life, am I to inquire about this more, and am I to take action on it? And for each of us to ask that question,
Right.
start there. And then, to me, I say, let source fuel the rest.
Right. Yeah. And just give it a long. I think that's a great. You've basically taken hours off of my navel gazing, right?
Yay! I love engaging in these ways.
Because it's like, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's like, whoa, stop that, right?
Go deeper. I say go deeper, right? The mind can spin out, but go deeper and be like, let me consult the intuition, the source, the guidance.
Right.
What direction? Go notice all the spinning and go deeper, drop down.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of saying that, I think there's also belief within me. The reason why we are disconnected, or we believe that we are disconnected from source, is, from our source, however that shows up for people, is because this, conditional busyness, right? We feel that we're too busy to do, I mean, there is so much a part of my life in the past was that if something was happening at the house, I was like, I got too much going on at work to be dealing with this. I got to go to work. If there's something, was happening at work, I was worried about what was happening at home or somewhere. So I was like nowhere in my life, because there was this, I and I think you mentioned it before about our doing, always feeling that we need to be doing. And I think then I've lost the appreciation of retreat and rest, and that brings clarity, right? Um,
And
and
and even I would add the word efficiency. I would add the word
wow,
efficiency, that and ease, that perhaps by taking that moment to engage in the meditation, even if it's 5 minutes,
right,
that
right,
perhaps our day, we would go through the day with greater clarity. We'd
mm,
be more in touch with intuition. We might get our answers quicker.
right,
I
mm,
think that we would be better in family life,
right,
more heart, centered, if we took that moment to replenish deeply
right,
and engage from that place with our family, with our work. I think that would change all our interactions and potentially make things more, we like those words, efficient and effective. We
right,
like those words, but what if we're more efficient and effective if we take those 5 minutes to
right.
center first and reconnect with a replenishing source?
Hmm. No, I totally got that. There is, we're I guess reaching our time, but there's something that just came up for me. It was very interesting. First, I got an image of an umbilical cord, with a mother, a child, and how that it's separated, right? So people can go on in their life and that process. And then I got an image of headsets, because I'm seeing your headsets and wireless buds, right? And so sometimes the appearance of disconnection, right? But we are connected. So there is this wireless, right? There is this wireless connection. There is connection that we always have. Like there is this motherly connection, that we have even after the umbilical cord is taken away. Like I said, I don't know why. I've been embracing the images that come up when I'm thinking to just share those,
Oh,
but
beautiful.
I have no idea what the hell is
Yeah,
going on right
no,
now. But it's really that, because that there is not this physical connection, and I think that's why before this pandemic, a lot of people were saying our virtual connections aren't really real, right? But we quickly learned that our virtual connections kept us sane,
that's
right?
right.
Right? Because I don't think many of us could have handled not, this pandemic without these virtual connections
Agreed.
that we were able to have. So how can we not, I'm like asking for a friend, right? How can we not depend so much on the physical connections to really recognize physical connections to source, right? Physical connections to source, to basically devalue that we are still connected to source, if that
Yeah.
made sense.
Yeah. I'll go where it's going to go.
Okay.
I think of the words, when you described that, I thought of the words invisible bond.
Hmm. Okay.
It's an invisible bond. So that takes some faith and some trust
Hmm.
to know it's there, but you know that your mother loves you wherever she may be.
Right.
It's like we know that there's love, right? We know it's there whether the person's with us or not, but we forget. We forget.
Right.
So it's about remembering what I might call the invisible bond, remembering the connection to source, whether we can see it or not.
Right.
And everyone has their way in. Perhaps it's through meditation or take breathing practices or yoga or whatever it may be.
Right.
So everyone has their way in. And I think one of life's journeys and adventures is finding what is your way in.
Hmm.
What is your source of, nourishment, reconnection, like what gets you there, and pursue that and have faith and trust your intuition to lead you back home.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, there's the last thing, I really appreciate that, because when I look at my relationship, not just to source, but to myself and each other, to people, and that I give what I call too much credit and too much blame to some of those relationships. And, I have something, I say happy today when I start the show, and I have a happy today show. And that is my, I guess, mantra, or the things that I say, is because how that shows up for me is my happy is a level of gratitude, right? It is being grateful for, for things, for stuff, for what's I'm experiences. And today is me being present. So I am presently grateful, right? I'm grateful now. That is what I want. And when I leave my happiness to my relationships, right? To what I believe, my source, I've been married for 30 years, my happiness should come from there. And when it doesn't, there's something wrong over there. Then that's when I get out of sorts, or go sideways. And I think as we wrap up, I just want to see, and I think you've answered it, but I guess I need to, sometimes I'm a little hard headed. I need to hear it again. But how can we have that remembrance, that physical, or even that person, right? Is not the source. It's, of whatever we truly need, in our life.
Great question. Actually, I feel like the answer is through conversation. Through conversation, to help remind each other. It's like almost inviting your friend to hold the mirror to themselves.
Right.
To say, oh, wow, you're really seeking out there, and I see the pain involved in that. But I do believe that the outer life is a reflection of the inner. So the closer we are to source and the more connected, I believe that our outer relationships improve tremendously. And
Wow.
I've seen this time and time again. You think you have to fix it out there, but you fix it within yourself, and you notice how your intimate relationships improve. So just through conversation, through reminding each other, we got to be partners in this, William. We got to, when I'm down and out, you remind me of what I just said,
Right. Wow.
So yeah, so thank you so much. Yeah, that's it. Let's remind each other.
Yeah, it's I had someone say to me, I don't really think you understand fully the power of what you've created here. And you have just reminded me that I don't. But because that is, as soon as you said it, I was like, yes, that is what these conversations are all about, is reminding us, of the source. So thank you very much for this conversation. This has been lovely. I hope we can say our goodbyes within the green room, but this has been great.
Thank you so much, William. Many blessings to you all.
Okay, blessings. Wow. Yeah, what is your source? That's a question that is coming up for me right now, and it is what you think it is, and it isn't what you think it is. Everything that I say, sometimes it feels like it's a riddle. It's like, I don't know if it's designed to allow me to be curious about my life, or to just confuse the hell out of me. I don't know. But yeah. So I really appreciated this conversation. And yeah, I'm going to look at some of the resources that have come up within this conversation, and really connect to source, or be reminded that I am connected to source that way. I hope this conversation has brought value to your day and also your life. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com to have your complimentary coaching session, so I can help you be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.